I am.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning. And welcome to the July meeting of the Steamship Authority. And as I don't have the documents in front of me, Terrence has graciously agreed to read the mandatory announcements into the record. Thank you, Terrence.
You're welcome. So I'd like to inform everyone that Sean Driscoll, the authority's communication director, is making an audio and video recording of today's meeting. Excuse me. Is there anyone else making an audio recording of today's meeting? If so, please identify yourself by pressing the raise your hand icon. Or if you are joining by phone, pressing *9 on your keypad. And when you are recognized, please state your name for the record. Thank you.
Louisa
Huffstadter, senior writer, Vineyard Gazette.
Ahoy, Rich from the Envy Times.
Very nautical.
Yes. That's all I see.
Okay, and with regards to the statement about remote participation pursuant to section 20 of chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021 and in line with social distancing guidelines followed during the COVID-19 pandemic, board members are participating remotely in today's meeting because their physical attendance today would be unreasonably difficult. All board members are participating in the meeting by the Zoom video conferencing app, and all members will be clearly audible to each other. As a result of the members' remote participation in this meeting, any and all votes taken by the members today shall be by roll call vote. Thank you. Those are the announcements. Thank you.
Mr. Davis, are there any other announcements?
No, that'd be it for announcements at this point.
Okay. Could we move on to the approval of the authority's June 21st meeting in public sessions, the minutes thereof? Is there any discussion of minutes? Yes,
I'll move the minutes.
thank you, Mr. Melton. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Jeffrey. We have a roll call vote, please.
Jeffrey, aye.
Jones, aye.
Malkin, aye.
Rainey, aye.
And Tierney abstain. Do we have someone from the Port Council?
Yes, Mr. Cahill is here and Sean's bringing him over.
Super.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Board of Governors.
Good morning, Mr. Cahill. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. And you?
Good. It's always nice to see you.
Thank you, thank you. The Port Council met on July 12th, and we had a number of topics that we discussed. The main ones would be that we had a healthy conversation about the website, and I'm sure you will be too. We approved the proposed 2023 summer and fall Nantucket operating schedules. And we also approved the RSM US engagement. And all were unanimous votes. And that is it.
Okay. Hey, does any board member have any questions of Mr. Cahill? Short. Yes, Mr. Malcolm?
Didn't you also discuss the evaluation of the general manager?
Thank you, Jim. Yes, we did, and we all participated in that review, and I think those documents have been forwarded on to you all for review as well. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Still missing.
Yes, Mr. Jones?
Yeah, I think there's one review still missing
Okay.
from the board,
From the board or from the Port Council?
Port Council.
I will
We'll
follow up
look-
on that.
We'll follow up on it, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Okay, moving on to Mr. Davis's general manager report.
Did John have his hand? Okay.
Waving.
Okay, so before I start, mention who's in the room here or in the barn, Palmer Ave. Sean Driscoll is running the Zoom for us. Mark Rosum, Terrence Keneally, Allison Fletcher, Janice Kennefic, and Kurt Van Riper are also in the room with us. So the first item we have is an update on the progress on the website redesign. And so Sean is coming over, and then he'll be
Morning, everybody.
Good morning, Sean.
I am going to bring over Sam Zoloff from ADK to give a quarterly update on our progress.
Should I dive right in?
Yeah, do you need Rob or anyone else over, or just you at this point, Sam?
It'd be great to have Rob, because he'll be presenting at the in the first half.
Okay,
as well.
but yeah, go ahead and dive right in.
Alrighty, well, thank you everybody for your time and good morning. Like Sean said, my name's Sam Zoloff. I am one of the project leads from ADK on the website and app project. And I will be giving an update on our progress to date. We'll start with a check-in on the timeline. We'll give, I'll pull in Rob Erskine, who's our tech lead. He'll talk about the progress made on technology front, both the front end code as well as the back end, the API work. I'll talk briefly about,
Sam?
yes.
We're seeing a blank screen, or at least I am. Is that supposed to be blank right now? Because it says you started screen sharing.
yeah, but
Yeah, I don't see your presentation, Sam.
Oh, strange. Sorry. 1 second. Thank you for that.
There we go.
Okay. Sorry about that. So, like I said, Rob will give an update on the tech progress. I'll give an update on some of the interior pages, which are some of the pages around fares and discounts, schedules that we've designed, as well as our overall approach there. And then we'll jump into a demo of how a user, a resident, might experience the website. So without further ado, we'll start with just an update on the timeline. Last time we chatted, we had pretty much wrapped up our sort of strategic phase where we had set the direction, we had validated the direction through a series of intensive meetings with the Steamship team, as well as begun regular check-ins and conversations and testing cycles with real users, real customers. These are primarily residents of both islands as well as the Cape, but also included some folks who are traveling and experiencing Steamship Authority for the first time to make sure we had a healthy balance. Since then, we've taken that direction in some of the designs and began to build them out, to scale them, to bring them into more cohesive, more finalized elements. And so a lot of what's underpinned that has been really tireless work on the engineering front. And I'll hand it over to Rob Erskine to do that, tell that story, because he can do that, give that much better justice than I can.
Yeah, hi everyone. As I mentioned, I'm Rob Erskine over here at ADK. I'm heading up our technology team. I just have one slide to share some progress with you on the engineering front. Just because Sam was going to spend a majority of the time showing real stuff, real demos, but I did just want to give you a quick update, sort of where we're at on the technology side. So on the front end side of the house, we've built over 30 components. It's actually a higher number than when we presented last week, just because we've made some great progress there. You can think of a component as sort of a Lego block or a widget that you can reuse over and over on the site. And each of those components have different versions or different permutations of themselves. So think different colored buttons or different filters, different drop downs, stuff like that. And of those, there's over 65 different permutations that we have. As we started to build out the site, each page has a URL, and of those we've constructed over 30 so far. On the API side of the house, on the right-hand side here, API stands for Application Programming Interface. It's kind of a nerdy way to sort of explain how we interact with all the data that the Steamship has in their IBM system. So of that, we've built over 20 API endpoints to get things like fares, customer data, reset password, things of that nature. And we've been working really closely with the internal Steamship team, both their technology team and their networking team, to make BI much faster, 5 times faster than when we first picked up the project, as well as 90% more stable. So the requests fail far less often than they were when we picked this project up. So a little bit more work there, but really amazing progress there. Holistically, we've done over 100 pull requests. A pull request is when we take code and we merge it back into the main sort of trunk there. And each one of those pull requests is peer reviewed by the entire team to make sure that what we're actually publishing in the world has some real quality. In terms of velocity, we have over 675 code commits. So every time we complete a feature, we fix a bug, each one of those is a commit to our code repository. So kind of nerdy, but just wanted to give you a sort of a glimpses of where we're at on the technology front and all the great progress we're making there.
Thanks, Rob. And the packet does have more examples and more explanation. There's a recording of Rob explaining some of the tools that we use to bring this to life. So if you review this afterwards, or if there are questions afterwards, we can go deeper. But in the interest of everyone's time, we'll carry on. And so taking a look at the interior pages that we've designed, this is basically everything except for the homepage, the account page, the booking flow. This is the content, the informational content, the operations content. All of that is in a really good place. We've followed 3 principles here. We've made it based on the conversations with users, the feedback we got from the initial survey, the RFP, et cetera. We've had these sort of 3 guiding lights for how we design. And one of them is making everything easier to read. And so what does that mean? It's a fairly simplified version, but of some of the concepts we use, like progressive disclosure. And so what I mean by progressive disclosure is that normally right now, if you go onto the website, you're faced with fairly large walls of text. You have to basically hunt and peck to find the information you're looking for through a combination of reconsidered information architecture, which is basically just how information is laid out on the screen, and the spacing between some of the components that Rob was talking about, as well as font choices, as well as through more interactive elements. We've enabled the customers to be able to choose what they see when they see it. So they're only having to deal with the information that they want when they want it, and no other information. So what does that mean? Sort of like regular terms or practical terms, it means that if you only care about one island, if you only care about, let's say, the Nantucket Fast Ferry, that's all the information you'll see. You won't have to find that in a sea of other information. Other things we've done has been moving a lot of the core information that is hidden behind PDFs onto the main site to help bring this to life. One of the things that has done that's been really important to us and really important to the Steamship team is make all of that information much more accessible. PDFs are notoriously bad for people who rely on assistive technologies like screen readers. And so having it out here and accessible makes this information more inclusive to all. Another sort of guiding lighter principle we've been following is making everything easier to find. And so on one hand, we've completely revamped the search engine functionality here. We're using a tool called Algolia. It is a smart search engine, which means that it learns over time based on how your users, how your customers interact with it. And means we can give more relevant results faster. Another approach that we've taken is a concept of topic clustering. So right now, if you were to try to find information on discounted tickets or fares in general, there are about 18 different places on the website that information may live. And so it creates a lot of confusion. We've heard from users about whether they're seeing the most up-to-date information in the right place or the most relevant information in the right place. And so it's not shown here because it's sort of the holistic architecture of the whole site, but we've been creating topic clusters based around how users expect information to be organized. And so all of the information about fares and discounts lives in one place and then has a progressive disclosure. So it has the top level information, and then it's easier to go more and more detailed. And then that also carries over to the content management experience for the Steamship Authority team on the back end. Currently, there's key information around schedules and prices and things like that exists in multiple places in the site, and they'll continue to, but that means that managing that is a very manual process. The Steamship Authority team has to go in and change multiple instances of that information. What we've done is shift that to an edit once, publish everywhere sort of concept. And so Steamship Authority is equipped with page builders and reusable components that make keeping the information up to date and accurate much, much easier as well. But all of that is relatively static information. What we're really excited to share with you today is sort of an end-to-end journey of how a user might make or interact with the core aspect of Steamship Authority, which is finding a reservation, booking that reservation, managing their trips, and dealing with some of the sort of day-to-day challenges that may change plans and require someone to need to change their trip. And so we have a bit of a contrived background context story here, but it's in order to show you sort of multiple different aspects of the experience. And so I'll jump right into, it was Allison, who is our fictional participant or customer here. She is a resident on Nantucket, and she will be, let's get that set up. She'll be going in and making a couple of reservations, and then she'll be editing those as well. Before we go further, the first thing I know you're going to notice is that the background is gray here. It's a purposeful approach. And I'll talk a little bit more about this in the update on what we're working on now and where we're going. But just to start, so Allison, she is a Steamship Authority customer. She has an account. She'll be greeted with the booking bar here. She'll click where are you going. Because she has an account, she'll log in. And now you can see all of these fields have been updated. So what just happened there is that she has an account. She has been able to set a default route, which makes information like the route, the ferry type, the passenger information, basically everything except for the time and date of travel, pre-populated. This is something that a lot of the users that we've talked to are very, very excited about, because oftentimes when they're making reservations, especially repeat reservations or frequent travelers, the only thing that really changes is the departure and return date. All of this is editable, of course. So if you do input your default information, you can go back and say, okay, I'd prefer to take the traditional ferry. But for the sake of this demo, we'll jump forward. And so you can see another new aspect here is the estimated availability. And so currently, if you're going through and trying to find a date that is available for a trip, you have to pick the date. You have no information about the availability until you pick that date, and then you have to go back. And if there's no availability, you go back, you pick another date, hope that that one has availability, go back and forth. And this was another bit of feedback that we received from the customers. And so we created a design to bring some of that information forward so they can make more considered decisions about their available dates earlier. And she'll be doing a round trip. She'll be taken to the trips page. This is simulating maybe she's going over as part of her commute. So she'll take the earliest and return on the latest. We'll carry on to confirm the trip. And you can see a complete summary of all of the information, breakdown of the pricing. That was important. People really value the transparency that this gave them. There's a call out here in case there's boarding assistance needed. And she could continue to check out, but we're going to have her save to cart and book another ferry within the same flow. So in this scenario, she is planning a trip with the rest of her family to visit her in-laws on the mainland. And so she doesn't want a round trip, one adult. She wants to change this information. So she'll just click into that. She can click search for a new trip. She'll be going for Hyannis. round trip, bringing a vehicle. And now we'll go into the add the vehicle details. You'll see that this is pre-populated with her information. For the sake of this demo, we'll pretend that she is bringing a trailer. So simple enough. Are you towing a trailer? Yes. Pops in, fill out the height and length, add passengers. She'll add 4. She has the option in case she's dropping someone off, maybe leaving the kids at the in-laws for an extended period of time, and maybe they'll be coming back on a separate trip. She can click no, but for the sake of this, it'll be the same both ways. And this will be in October, in the fall. Maybe she's doing some leaf peeping. So we jump to October, a lot more availability. She'll be looking for a week. And you can see she wants to go from Sunday to Saturday, but she may have some trouble there because there's some limited availability. So she's primed for that. Maybe she has a long drive, wants to leave early in the morning. And she wanted to leave early in the morning on the way back, but it's unavailable, it's waitlist only. So what she would do is select a backup date to confirm that reservation and then request the waitlist. We have a flyout here that explains in plain English, and this took a lot of workshopping to make sure that the waitlist made sense to people who are familiar with it. So we're not changing it too much, but also made sense to people who have never seen this before and maybe interacting with it for the first time. So she's searching for the same day. We'll say she wants to look between the earliest and 10 a.m. and she'll be searching until 2 days before. And it will understand. Sorry, that was a little glitch on Figma, the prototyping tool. And she'll confirm trip. And she has the same summary page here. And now she is done making reservations. She's ready to check out. So we know we can't, a common request is to save credit card information. We know that's not on the table for now, but we have opted to give people other ability for sort of this one-click checkout experience. If they have an Apple Pay account, if they have Google Pay or PayPal, they can use those. They can pay with ticket books. There's a little call to action. If they want to purchase a ticket book, they can enter the gift card here, but we'll pretend she's just paying with her credit card. Little loading screen, and then purchase is successful. So this is a fun and important screen, actually, because it gives 2 of the most common use cases for reservation front and center. After she may want to share her, after she makes the reservation, excuse me, she may want to share that with her extended family. She may want to print it out for her records. These are things that through conversations with people we found that is very, very frequent. We can also promote the app to make it easier for people to stay abreast of notifications. And then depending on what we, some light personalization, according to the account, we can give different resources afterwards here. So if it's someone's first time traveling, we can give them a first time traveler's guide, or they're traveling with kids, they've input that information in the reservation flow. We can give a guide to traveling with kids or recommendations, things like that. So that was the purchase flow. Let me see. Great. Okay, now let's pretend some time has passed and Allison is hanging out on her couch. She receives a text from her extended family asking her family to come a day earlier, and she needs to change her reservation. She's on her phone. Of course, when you get that text, you want to be able to just get that over with. You don't want to have to write a note to remember it for later. So she goes to the Steamship website, she logs in, and she's taken to her account dashboard on mobile. And here is sort of her home base of her account, where we have talked to people about what sort of information they'd want to see prioritized here and front and center. And so we've pulled in these different interactive elements and items that are interacted with more frequently. So for things like e-ferry tickets and ticket book rides, parking permits, gift cards, these may be purchased or used daily, weekly, monthly. for other contact and profile information, we've put that under the account. So you're going to be changing your profile or your contact information, like your address, fairly infrequently. So you don't need to see that every time you log in. What you want to see are the core actions that you're going to use. And we've pulled in the next upcoming reservation front and center. So if she wants just a quick reminder, she has that within basically 2 clicks. But we'll go in and remember, she's still trying to change her upcoming reservation. So we'll go into the reservation detail page. This has her next reservation between Nantucket and Hyannis. This is the round trip fast ferry that she purchased for her commute. And it's coming up in July. So that's why it's prioritized. And then she has the rest of her information for her reservation. So we know that people tend to have maybe 8 or so reservations at any one time. So that's all listed below the primary reservation in this future reservations area that you can scroll through and find. You can see different status indicators for those reservations at a glance. And we can jump into the trip detail page for Allison to make that change, excuse me. And so similar to the summary page, we have all of the information broken out for both the departure trip as well as the return trip. We have the waitlist status, we have the ability to edit the waitlist, and then Allison's parents or extended family had asked her to just change when they're showing up. So just changing one leg of this round trip reservation. So we'll jump to the departure trip, edit that. It's going a day earlier. So that's a really easy change to make. You can see, you just pop it over with the quick nav here. And then pick the time. And if she's looking for another date, she would open the calendar and see a similar calendar to the reservation flow. She can request a wait list if need be, confirm the trip change. She'll see what's changed front and center here. She'll have the ability to change other aspects as well. And then we'll go through and just make sure that she understands everything that's changed, understands if there are any new charges. For example, if she had made a previous change and there was a new charge, this is where we'd show that, make sure that there are no sort of hidden or surprise fees, submit changes, and we're done. So her reservation is updated. She'll get a confirmation email or text. This will be updated throughout her profile, whether she logs in on the mobile app, whether she logs in on desktop, and goes back to the account dashboard. Sorry about that. This would be updated as well as all of the information on her reservations page. So let me just get back to the presentation. Great. So that was an example of the core workflow of the website. The riskiest part, the most complicated part, and the most important part is making sure that people can find reservations easily, find availabilities easily, book as easily as possible, reduce friction during that process, introducing things like Apple Pay and PayPal, and then also make it very easy to stay on top of and manage the reservations, get notifications, see waitlist status, make changes very flexibly. And so that's why we've prioritized that. That's why the homepage of the background was not finished. It's actually something we're working on right now. We'll be meeting later today to discuss an update on that. We're also working on finalizing the mobile application. What we've made sure is that there's parity across any experience. So whether you're on your desktop or your mobile phone on the website, or you've downloaded the mobile app, you'll have an equal experience. No one experience is prioritized over the other. They're all going to be at a high caliber. And then we're also working on finalizing the copy and creative. We've set the narrative direction for a few pages where, for example, the about page is more narrative heavy. And then we've also talked about how we can make sure that information around that's more transactional or utilitarian is the right word, is clear and easy to understand. So information around prices and schedules and things like that. And then we've set up the plan for the photographer and the videographer to start shooting different images and videos. That'll carry on throughout the year to make sure that we get a wide range of different seasons. And meanwhile, our engineers are working out on building everything that you just saw. So like Rob said, there's been a lot of architectural work as well as a lot of work on the front end experience on what a user might actually see. And throughout all of this, we'll continue to keep close conversations with both the Steamship Authority team as well as the users. Ultimately, we want to make sure that this sort of demo and prototype gets in front of them as soon as possible so we can get their feedback and continue to incorporate that in our product and build out so that we build an experience that works for them and also is easy and intuitive enough for people who have never experienced Steamship Authority before. And that is the extent of my presentation right now. I wanted to make sure we had some time in case there are any questions or discussion afterwards as well, but thank you all for your time and patience.
Thank you. Are
Thanks,
there any
Sam.
questions?
Sam, could you stop your, yeah, thank you, good.
Mr. Malcolm?
Presentation, Sam.
Mr. Malcolm, we can't hear you.
Chairman.
Going in and out. No. No. Mr. Jeffrey, you want to jump in with your question?
I'll ask my question as well. Mr. Malcolm tries to work on his technology. Again, the first question is during the engineering portion of the presentation, talked about improvement of the API failure rate. And I guess for launch, what is this industry standard of an acceptable API failure rate? I'm quite concerned that if we have a high failure rate, we're going to lose our customers' buy-in to this project.
Yeah, and that's a totally valid concern. So I appreciate you bringing that up. So right now we're probably at a 95% successful rate, and you're right, that isn't enough. We're aiming for 99.97%, I believe. So that's something that we're moving and inching towards every week. So that is the goal, to have that 99.97% plus uptime.
And then I guess more of a follow-up question for, I guess, Sean. As we roll this out with the launch, what do we anticipate as our level of customer service support at launch, and then 90 days post rollout? Are we going to have the ability to have kind of both online and call-in support? And then are we going to do any amount of training introduction to this new web system, either through animated videos or a video just kind of along the way that we've seen this? I know it might seem intuitive, but I just know that people typically don't like change, even if it's for the best. And to relearn a system that people have used for years, even if it's not ideal, we're asking people to commit some time into learning this. So I guess two parts. What are we going to do in terms of training our customer base to make them feel more comfortable using the system? And then what is our level of customer support at launch and then 90 days out?
Sure, great questions on all fronts, Peter. We have talked internally about the kinds of support materials that we're going to create ahead of launch, be it an animated video or a series of short videos or helper text or all of those. We've had broad discussions on it, but we do know that that is a component that we're going to need to have developed before launch. So that's something that's very much on our radar screen. In terms of other support, we'll certainly do training with our reservation office clerks, because they tend to be the frontline people who have questions about it, as well as our ticket office personnel and other frontline personnel to answer questions, and then we'll set up either a dedicated inbox or, point people that customers can reach out to if they have more specific questions. And those are all things in broad strokes that we know that need to be done, and we will develop a more detailed plan closer to launch.
I would say that I think we would need something, at least in the first 90 days, a little bit more than an inbox and kind of live real-time support, at least for our islanders who rely upon this, not for vacations and excursions, but to go about their daily lives and business as well. I think I'd like to see some level of online real-time customer support. And then obviously as a board, I think we'd like to know the cost, because I presume that the costs of the rollout in terms of training, as well as the customer support level that may be necessary. Have we thought about that? Is it part of the current contract, or is that something we're doing internally?
Some of that will be included in the current contract. Some of that will be included in an ongoing support contract that we end up negotiating. Then some of that will just be internal, but we will start talking about that now, so that when we're ready to launch, we'll have that plan in place.
Sean?
Thank you.
Sean,
Yes.
have you considered installing some televisions at our various terminals that basically would have the video, so while people were waiting, they could go on, one of our screens that's there that may free up, some of the live bodies that are working there?
Yeah, we actually do have a capital project that's been approved for some electronic screens at terminals. So we're developing that internally now, and that's something that we've talked about, what kind of content or abilities we'd want this to have. So we'll definitely be thinking about that as well.
Mr. Randy, did you have a question?
Yeah, a question and a comment. I just want to thank the team. This looks great to me. As a user myself, I was initially worried about transitioning, but I don't think that's going to be a problem after seeing this. This looks a lot like many airline web pages that I've seen. So I don't think that the transition is going to be that big of a deal. But again, if any help that we can provide would be great.
And so your plan that includes everything that is considered necessary for the construction of the
Mr. Malkin?
Thank you. Thank you, Sean. And I want to also.
There's some I'm hearing in it like another meeting or some background discussions that are, I think it's probably interfering with the taping.
All right, why don't you continue, and I will try and relocate. Please continue.
Okay, yes, thank you.
When I feel like it's not my.
Any other, Mr. Jones?
Yes, thank you for this presentation. I, of everybody sitting here, am a non-user. I don't think I've ever gone in and got a ticket, for the Steamship Authority to go, to either island. And I know my experience recently of trying to book buses from Boston to Hyannis and asking a simple question of schedules and having to waltz all around the place to find a schedule. And I could go on with my tirade, but this seems easy. I did get a little confused as we move through the whole process, and that's probably because you're going from, the changing of appointments and things of this nature. I was just having a hard time keeping up with it. But I would make one comment that I'm looking, and you're talking about background, that when I'm looking at the blue font and stuff, I found it hard to read. And now I can have a caveat to that. I'm having cataract surgery in about 3 days. So maybe I should talk after that time, but in any event, I found it difficult to read, and I thought, you know, the border on the other side, which was dark blue with red and white, I mean, that jumped right out at me. And I think when I look at, you know, schedules and programs and things, I really want something crisp and clear. You know, big font, you know, good background and things like this. I love the blue color as it is, but I thought that was hard to read if that was, you know, a finished product. And I don't know if you're going to go into a technical thing, but I'll just mention this quickly, is that some of the items that you brought up was discounts and things like that. And I want to make sure that we put in some blurb about senior discounts that are available to the port towns. I didn't see that anywhere in the port council's meeting and whatever, but I'm saying that while I'm still thinking about it. That's all, but thank you, nice job.
Thanks, Mr. Jones. Great notes. And the senior discounts are definitely in there. I've seen them many places, so they're taken care of.
Mr. Malcolm?
Thank you. I hope this audio is better.
Yes.
I can't do anything about the visual. I do want to actually congratulate the group. I sat on the Port Council meeting, and this presentation does reinforce the fact that certainly from the island point of view, the most important thing is making bookings and real-time information about the status of those trips. Factual, up-to-date information. So that's great. You know, that's the user experience that we're concerned about, certainly from our point of view. You know, less concerned about search engine optimization, less concerned about ad placement and targeting and so on. Did hear at the Port Council the discussion of a delay. I know David talked about that. Perhaps you could, Sean, bring everybody up to speed with the launch delay and provide each month a timeline, because certainly we don't want this to run into our heavy January and February booking season and interfere with that. And if it means holding back on this until then, I think that's important to consider. And the only other thing is there's mention of the AS400 system that we have. I'd be interested in the future. We talk about a timeline to transition off of that, because I'm wondering how much of the API failure is tied to that AS400 system. That perhaps may be too technical to this particular session, but that's something I'd like to know about going forward. Thank you.
I will start in order.
Thanks.
Regarding the timeline, there are two factors in play right now. One is that the Steamship Authority is transitioning to a new credit card processor called Eigen, and there's development work to bring them on board that's outside of the control of this group. We're still aiming to be ready for launch in early November, but that is dependent on Eigen's development process happening in a timely manner. So that's one potential blocker for us. The other is that we recently made the decision that we're going to have to seek out a new provider for the content management system, which is the system behind the scenes that we use to update the content on the website. The company Contentful that I have mentioned to you in the past, Steamship Authority wasn't able to reach agreeable contract terms with them. So we're seeking out some other alternatives. Luckily, because of the way that the site is being constructed, that's not going to present a delay in terms of having to redo a lot of things, but it is going to take a little bit of time to find our backup solution. I'm not ready at this point quite yet to say that we won't launch in early November, but we knew from the outset that if that early November target date didn't get met pretty exactly, that we were going to have to wait until after the openings in January, because Kurt Van Riper and his team need time to prepare for the summer openings, which are our busiest season, as you all are well aware. So if that early November date wasn't hit pretty exactly, then we were going to make a decision to delay until February or March. So I'm not quite ready to call it officially yet, but that is on the table, and I'll continue to provide you updates every month as far as the progress of that.
Thank you.
And Rob, can you just briefly speak to the API and the IBM system and that question?
Sure. Yeah. So the IBM system, even though it is a little old, is still extremely powerful. When we went and visited the steamship a few months ago, we went in the server room, and it is, up to code. It is, standard. So while it is sort of a hindrance now, I know that in the future, we do potentially want to move some of the systems on the IBM system to the cloud, which is kind of what we're doing already with our AWS gateway. So that's not on the table for now, but in the near future, we're sort of setting up the foundation where it could be sort of moved to a more ubiquitous sort of horizontally scalable solution in the cloud. So it shouldn't hinder us for launch, but for now, we're in a good spot with it, I think.
Any other
And, I
questions
think-
or comments?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think Kurt's in the room too. So if any of that's wrong, Kurt, feel free to call me out. But I think that's where we're at.
He's smiling, so that's a good sign.
Okay, good.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
I don't know whether the board wants to consider, I do see that there's 2 hands up in the audience.
If we could take those questions before we let ADK go, Ms. Tierney, are you okay with that?
I am, yes.
All right, thank you. Let's see, Mary, did you have a question about the web project?
Thank you very much. This is Mary Longacre on Nantucket, and I do have a bit of a background in user experience design, and I appreciate the work that the team is doing. I saw a lot of good things there. I have one major concern though, and that is when you were going through the mobile app to change the reservation, you reached a screen and I believe the button said, review and submit. And I thought that submit was the end. When you got to the next screen and you had to hit submit again, and that button was only seen after scrolling down to the bottom, I would have stopped. I would not have gotten to that submit button. And I have seen in the terminal people, in the current system over the years saying, I thought I had changed my reservation, or I thought I had a reservation for this boat, and their reservation was not changed. So I would be very concerned that you would have people abandoning their change of reservation before they got to that second submit button. So I would encourage you to either combine those 2 screens if that's possible, or if not, change the language on that first screen, something like preview changes, or something that indicates that it's not a final submission. Stay away from the word submit. I think that would be helpful to the user. Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
Mary.
much, Ms. Longacre.
That's great feedback, and we also have a screen that pops up if you try to leave before submitting your changes to warn you of that, but we'll continue to look at that language and the placement of that on mobile to make sure it hits the mark. Thanks, Mary. And then Leon, you had your hand up as well.
Yes, I have my hand up. I like the project. I like the way it's going. I think the dashboard makes a lot of sense. It's intuitive. And I think that from a training standpoint of view, it will be very easy for people to switch from the current version to the new version because of the ease of finding stuff. I have 2 concerns. One, I think Bob Jones brought up a very important point, and sometimes people designing stuff don't look at it, but I would ask that the developers please look at the color blindness chart that's available online and make sure that your combinations of colors don't meet the exact color blindness chart. Only men are colorblind, women are not. So Bob, you're okay. I have problems seeing blues and yellows and oranges too. The other thing is I'm very upset that the developers use only white people in their presentation. As you know, I've been advocating for years, and the site right now has tons and tons of diversity on it. And we need to get to diversity now. And if you're going to do demos, put the diversity in the demo so I don't have to feel that you're not looking out for that. In fact, we've done such a good job that I even had to ask Bob one time, you need to put some non-diverse people because the entire site at one point was completely diverse. But again, I think that it looks good. I can't wait to try it out. And if you want to add me to your end user, I would appreciate that as being an older person who's been using computers since 1966.
Thanks, Leon, and we'll those photos that are there are dummy photos, but we'll definitely look at that. And regarding the accessibility, we're running all the page designs through accessibility checkers to make sure they're meeting those standards.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you,
very much.
everybody.
Thanks all. Have a great day.
Proposed 2023 summer and fall Nantucket operating schedule.
All right. So the staff wanted to, would like to present for approval the proposed 2023 summer and fall operating schedules for the Nantucket route. So following the presentation of the schedules back in this past March, the authority placed newspaper advertisements of the proposed 2023 summer and fall operating schedules for both of its Martha's Vineyard route and the Nantucket routes for the period of May 18th, 2023 through January 3, 2024. We did receive a petition, as you all are aware, regarding the schedules as proposed. On June 8th, we conducted a public hearing on those schedules. During that and since then, no comments have been received regarding the proposed summer and fall operating schedules for the authority's Nantucket route. So at this point, we're proposing that the 2023 summer operating schedules for the Nantucket route with the period from May 18th to October 23rd, which would start one day later and end 4 days later than the 2022 schedule. The proposed 2023 summer schedule would be essentially the same as the 2022 schedule, with the exception of the vessel assignments, the starting and end dates of those assignments, but it's the same vessels, just the schedule dates change slightly. The proposed fall schedule for the Nantucket route would run from October 24th to January 3rd, 2024. And would start 4 days later and end 1 day later than in 2022. The fall schedule would essentially be the same as what we have scheduled for the 2022. Again, with only the exception of a couple of the assignment dates, those shift by a day or two on the vessels. We also have the proposed 2023 operating schedule for the high-speed service on the Nantucket route. That would run from March 29th, 2023 to January 3rd, 2024. That would mean it would start 2 days earlier and end 2 days later than the 2022 schedule. The Port Council at their July 12th meeting voted to recommend that the members approve the 2023 summer and fall operating schedules for the Nantucket route as proposed, and staff is recommending approval as per the staff summary. So Allison is here to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Mr. Randy?
No questions. Looks good to me.
Could I have a motion?
I will make a motion to approve.
I'll
Thank you,
second.
Mr. Randy. Thank you, Mr. Malcolm. Roll call vote, please.
Jones, aye.
Malcolm, aye.
Randy, aye.
And Tierney, aye. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I think that takes care of it for at this point. Next is the treasurer's report. Mark's coming up.
Morning, everyone. This is the summary for May. For the month of May, we saw passengers on the Vineyard route up 7.8%, on the Nantucket route up 3.2%. Both routes combined, passengers were up just under 17,000 or 6.8%, bringing the year-to-date total up about 8.5% or just under 62,000 passengers. Here's a graph showing the month-by-month comparison of last year and this year. Okay, for vehicles less than 20 feet, for the month of May on the Vineyard route, we're down 3.2% or just under 1,500 cars. Primarily, the standard fare autos were down 2,200 or 8.5%. The Nantucket route was down as well, 5.5% or just 438 vehicles. Both routes combined were down 1,923 cars or 3.5%, bringing the year-to-date total down of 1.6% or 3,159 cars. Here's a comparison of the month-by-month last year and this year. Freight vehicles for the month of May were up 5.8% for both routes combined, or 509 vehicles. The Vineyard route was up 7.3%. The Nantucket route was up 3.7%. Year to date, both routes combined were up 2.7% or 952 trucks. Here's a comparison for the months. Cars parked for the month of May, both routes combined were up just under 10% or 1,492 cars. The Vineyard route was up while the Nantucket route was down. Year to date, we're up 4,225 cars to 12.7%. The Vineyard route's up about 16.2%, and the Nantucket's down, route's down 1%. And again, here's a monthly comparison. A trip summary for the month of May on the Vineyard route, we saw 14 trips canceled for mechanical reasons, 9 for weather and 3 for traffic. On the Nantucket route, we saw 16 trips for mechanical reasons, 42 for weather, 2 for traffic. Year-to-date total for both routes combined, we have 53 trips canceled for mechanical reasons, 227 for weather, and 134 for traffic purposes. Financial snapshot for the month of May. Operating revenue was $12,326,000. Was higher than budget by just under $94,000. Operating expenses for the month of May were $9,814,000, which was lower than budget by $184,000. Net operating income for the month was $2,492,000, which was higher than the projected budget by $323,000. Year to date, we have a net operating loss of $8,979,000, which is lower than budget by just over $1 million. Operating revenue for the month, again, we're up 94,000. In the category that's down is the automobile traffic. That's a combination of not only the volume of automobiles as well as the category where the standard fares are down and the excursions are up. And that applies both for the month and the year total. So year to date, our operating revenue is up just under 632,000 or 1.7%. Here's a breakdown showing where all the revenues are coming from by category, both for the month of May and year to date. As mentioned earlier, the operating expenses for the month of May were down 184,000 and 1.8%. Vessel operations were up 355,000, and that was primarily fuel costs, which were up $267,000 for the month of May. And we can go into more detail on the next presentation about that. So year to date, we're down $874,000, or 1.8% for operating expenses, primarily in the general expense category. We're down $835,000 health claims. Unemployment's down $364,000, and training is down $261,000 compared to budget. And we expect the healthcare claims and the training to normalize, and we'll see that number come down through the course of the year. Operating expenses breakdown for both the month and the year to date. And to give an update on June traffic, passengers were up 7.7% compared to a year ago. In year to date, we're about 8.2% compared to a year ago. For the vehicles carried on the Vineyard route in the month of June, we're down just over 1,000, or just under 1,100 vehicles, 1.9%. And on the Nantucket route, we're down 200 vehicles or 1.7%. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Questions, no? Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome. So we'll go over the, with your permission, go over the fuel present update.
Sure.
Let me go to the next slide. So this is how we calculate our fuel. We take the cost of the actual fuel deliveries, add in the cost of any fuel options that we purchase, reduce, take away or subtract from the total any option premiums we've received. And that equals our total monthly cost. And for those who aren't familiar, on a yearly basis, we by month hedge our fuel costs. So it's really a fancy way of saying we take insurance out, where we buy futures options to lock in the price on the NYMEX market at a price in the future. So one thing we are noticing this year compared to last year, and we'll see in the next slide, is that not only are the prices of the fuel going up, which everyone can relate to, seeing what gas prices are, but it's also the cost to purchase these options as well. So here we're showing a comparison by month of, in blue, what we paid for the fuel hedge strike prices in 2022, what we've so far done for 2023, and we're not completely done with October, November, December yet, and what our actual delivery costs are.
Could you hold that for just a second, please?
Sure.
That screen.
Yep.
I can't always keep up with, you know, the rattling on of these things. I try to find where I'm at, but I just want to. So the blues, the hedge strike price. So we've been basically collecting on them, you know, pretty much the most of the time here. Is that the way I
Yeah.
read this?
Yep. So this year the cost of the fuel premiums that we bought this year, the options were $271,000. We've received, this is for 2022, $2.5 million. So we've reduced our fuel cost by about $2.3 million. So if we didn't have the hedges in place, our budget would be $2.3 million to the worse so far.
Or actually, we wouldn't have been at the time, we wouldn't have been budgeting to that amount. So we would have been taking a hit of over $2 million year to date on our operating budget. Because the fuel prices have spiked so much.
And then one thing of that $2.3 million, Mr. Jones, 1.6 million of it has been realized in the last 3 months, June, May, and April, where we've seen the, as you can see in the graph in gray, the increase in prices.
All right. It'd be interesting to take a graph from day one to today of the hedge prices and the deliveries, et cetera, and where we stand. We'll probably be behind the hedge, but knowing what our budget will be and being able to budget is certainly worth the cost of hedging.
Yeah, and it gives us, to your point, Mr. Jones, it gives us price certainty where we're not doing any fuel surcharges like some delivery companies are doing, other transportation agencies and ferry operators, where we can, with our hedges, have some price certainty.
Right. Thank you, Mark.
Okay, and here's showing the graph, but in numerical format for the hedge prices. So we have the strike prices, which is on the NYMEX market, which is the price we're locking in at, and then the cost of how much it is per gallon to buy the option. And then what we call taxes and deliveries, the taxes plus the differential, plus the cost of having it delivered, plus the differential between the NYMEX market as well as what they call the OPIS, where the actual price of delivery in New York Harbor is. So we factor that all in to get a net cost per gallon. And the big thing you can see, if we all look at the month of June, for example, last year we were able to exercise an option at $2 and just under 11 cents. This year it's at $3.38, and just the cost of the option price alone is doubled. So that's so if we go to the next slide, Sean. that when we look at what we had budgeted, because sometimes we budget to the cap and sometimes we budget below based on the forecast, that if we have these numbers, the market's very volatile right now. We budget about 3.3 million gallons of fuel. The price per gallon right now with the hedges, comparing the budget versus where we stand on the hedges, is $1.62 more. 3.3 million times $1.62, there's your, you're looking at almost a $5.6 million potential adjustment. One thing we did notice in the month of May, when fuel was at its most volatile recently, is that there was a divergence between the relation of the NYMEX market and the actual physical delivery of the oil, where normally somewhere we budget for 20 cents per gallon. We saw it over $1. So for the month of May, our budget, we're up $270,000. We took $3 million in delivery, and that $1.10, which was the difference for the month, it came up to 90 cents difference, is why our budget was off $270,000. So the month of June and July, we're seeing those numbers more normalized. We're in the 40-cent range difference.
So typically in May, that's when the refineries are switching over from their winter blend to their summer blend. And so there was a lack of distilled products, which caused the price in this case, in the Providence terminal, to spike. I'll have to say that since we started this program, we've never seen it spike as much as it did in the month of May. We've seen it perhaps double, but in this case, this was a five-fold increase on the differential between the New York Harbor price, which is what the NYMEX is quoted on, versus the price at the pump in Rhode Island.
Yep, so you can take the screen share off. So that's something we're looking at. The markets, as everyone aware of, is very volatile. We've seen the price in the last 10 days for what we're getting for deliveries changed by around 40 cents, for our actual delivery price. So it's something we're going to keep an eye on, and something that's going to be one of the main focuses on this year's budget. So Barbara and I would be happy to answer any questions anyone has.
And I guess I just would like to add that with the way that we construct our budget, it's the type of thing that, unlike some other carriers where they will just institute a fuel surcharge, the dynamics of our service in terms of vehicles and when those reservations are made for those vehicles and the passengers and when we're carrying those passengers, it just makes it to the point where we try to build in some certainty into the budget process by using the hedge program, and that assist us in not being at a point where we do have to institute a fuel surcharge mid-year.
Any questions? Sorry for the great news.
Not your fault. Not your fault.
Yep. So with that, next thing on my plate is the looking for reauthorization for the reappointment of the RSM as our independent auditors. This would be for the fiscal years ending December 31st, 2022, 2023, and 2024. The firm has been doing the audits for us for the last 10 years. They have a rotational personnel policy. So for example, during the last 3 audits, we've had 2 different audit managers and numerous different associate auditors on the account. The audits are also reviewed by concurrent partners, not only the partners in charge of our account, but also other ones who are independent from our audit entirely. We anticipate all of these audits will be what they call single audits, due to us receiving over $750,000 in federal grants a year. This year's proposal is an increase from $139,500 to $145,000 or $5,500. 2023 will be $150,800, and in 2024 will be $156,900. So we're looking for the board's approval to reappoint RSM as the auditors, independent auditors for the next 3 years.
Mr. Jeffrey?
And by the way, the Port Council did vote, as Mr. Cahill said earlier, unanimously to recommend this.
Mr. Jeffrey?
I have just a comment on it. I had attended the Port Council meeting, and I know it came up about how how often we should put this out on the street for perhaps a competitive bid. And I understand from your answers during the Port Council meeting that as a quasi-public agency, there's very few firms that actually do the type of auditing we require. I'm in favor, and after I'm done making a comment, I'm happy to move for the approval of this. But I think when the next contract time comes up, when we're discussing this in 2023 or 2024, that if not putting it out for bid, we should probably have a presentation from the treasurer as to a market survey as to who else could be able to provide these services, just so that we're doing our due diligence. And with that, I'll move I'll make a motion to renew this contract.
Do I have a second? Mr. Malcolm? A roll call vote, please.
Jeffrey, aye.
Jones, aye.
Malcolm, aye.
Randy, aye.
Tierney, aye. There we go, Mark.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
You're welcome.
All right, so next under procurement, staff has a request for the members to authorize the general manager to award contract number 12-2022 dry dock and overhaul services for the MV Eagle to the lowest eligible and responsible bidder, Senesco Marine LLC of North Kingstown, Rhode Island, for a total contract price of $1,140,491. The Eagle is scheduled to enter shipyard availability October 23rd through December 6th this fall to undergo a required Coast Guard hull exam, the rudders, the propellers, and shaft maintenance, bow thruster maintenance, and coating maintenance, both on the underwater and superstructure, as well as a sea valve examination. The 2022 operating budget for this contract, including those items, was $1,344,435. The drawings were sent out to 13 shipyards. We received 2 responsive bids. So at this point, the staff is recommending that the seeking to authorize the general manager to award contract 12-2022 dry dock and overhaul services for the MV Eagle to the lowest eligible and responsible bidder, Senesco Marine LLC of North Kingston, Rhode Island, for a total contract price of $1,140,491.
Any discussion? May I ask a question, Mr. Davis?
Certainly.
I'm concerned that only 2 people out of 13 responded to our bid. I'd like some feedback as to why, number 1, and number 2. I think we've talked about this before, but I think we should be sending our bid packages to a broader sampling of boatyards.
So we have tried to identify other shipyards that are capable of dry docking our vessels. I think part of the discussions that we've had before is the timing of this, that some cases the yards book their docks farther ahead. I think we're getting to the point where we are getting these packages out a little bit earlier than we had in the past. And I see Mark's been brought over here, so whether he has anything to add as well about this, but.
Yeah, we've added some other yards down on the lower East Coast and even in Jacksonville, and we're expanding that. We're now up to 13. A lot of times it's, we're getting the specs out earlier. As you may know, this is for an October dry docking. However, a lot of the, there is a positioning cost of transporting the vessel, which is a penalty to the further distance you get away from the yard periods. But we are expanding our dry docks and meeting with them and trying to get more people to bid.
Okay, good. Any other questions? May I have a vote? May I have a motion?
Move. I
May I have
move.
may I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Jones. Roll call vote, please.
Jeffrey, I.
Jones, aye.
Malcolm, I.
Rainey, aye.
Tierney, aye.
Okay. And I don't know whether this actually falls under old and new, but I just wanted to bring it up. Last month, just as a follow-up, the board authorized us to dispose of some surplus property that we had accumulated at our vehicle maintenance garage and warehouse in Falmouth. The equipment was no longer any use, and we wanted to dispose of it along the lines of our procurement policy. We used our procurement office, utilized an online auction website, publicsurplus.com, to dispose of the equipment, and 54 of the 61 items ended up being sold for just under $39,000. So after commissions, the authority will be receiving about $33,000 in the proceeds from the sale of those items. I just want to close the loop on that from last month. So.
Oh, fairly efficient, huh?
Something.
Other old new business?
Yeah, so staff received a request from the town of Tisbury requesting considerations on diverting the scheduled 8:30 p.m. Oak Bluffs departure to Vineyard Haven during the Beach Road Concert Series event. The correspondence was that as a matter of public safety and safe egress from the festival site, the best case scenario and request is that the standard 8:30 p.m. departure from Oak Bluffs be moved to Vineyard Haven so people can walk from the festival to the ferry rather than shuttling approximately 800 people to Oak Bluffs in about 30 minutes. This is quite a challenge, and why your help is needed. So the request was relative to the August 26th through August 28th, the Friday to Sunday concert series. While it's been verbally relayed to the staff that emergency services in Oak Bluffs supports this diversion request, staff is recommending that we reach out to the Oak Bluffs Select Board to be contacted to determine if the town of Oak Bluffs similarly supports this diversion plan, and would welcome any feedback from the board regarding this.
Mr. Malcolm.
I'm happy to follow Mr. Jeffries.
Mr. Jeffrey.
I was happy to follow Mr. Malcolm since it's his island.
Fair enough. Whatever suits. If I may, and I'm going to try and use my words very carefully here. For the information of my fellow board members, in the winter, the Steamship Authority, myself, and the Port Council members were approached by the Beach Road Festival promoter and organizer, who wished us to add additional trips to take people to and from the concert. After much discussion, we made it very clear that the Steamship Authority is not a charter operation for individual businesses or events, but runs a service to provide goods, transportation to people who live and commute and travel back and forth to the island. That we would help the organizer contact and refer him to our licensees and any other entities we knew where he could try to charter vessels or make arrangements. But in terms of us making new, changing our schedules, which have been voted on in advance, adding additional trips, which we're constrained by our hours of operation, our crew members, hours of service issues, our staffing issues, and our dock availability issues, that we would run our schedule. Now, despite that conversation in the winter, tickets continued to be sold. The event continued to be promoted. And we now are informed that there are large numbers of people who apparently at the end of this late August heavy season time for the vineyard will be looking to get off the island to go to Falmouth or Hyannis for accommodation. And it's frankly is beyond the capacity. We also told the organizer that we would not take bulk reservations for passengers going back and forth, and suggested that he look at the capacity that was available and do what he could, which might include limiting the number of tickets, might include various alternatives that were beyond our control. Now, I was called to the Oak Bluff Select Board to discuss the issue of diversions from Oak Bluff to Vineyard Haven. And I spoke to them about the mechanical or weather-related issues. But given the fact that they asked the Port Council member, Mr. Solito, and myself to hear their concerns about diversions from their port to another port, and the issue of embarkation fees, and the issues of its effect on their businesses, I find it disappointing that we're now in a situation where apparently there may be a public safety issue raised by the numbers of tickets that have been pre-sold to people to an island where transportation is problematic because we are an island. So given that, unless the Select Board of Oak Bluff is willing to do this because of a public safety issue, I have a very hard time supporting any change in our schedule and our docking and our deployment of crew for a single business that may have gotten ahead of itself. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Yes, Mr. Jeffrey?
I would just follow on that I completely agree with Mr. Malcolm and his concerns. One of the questions I was going to have, even though if he's opposing this, I of course will also vote to oppose it, is what would be the cost of this? And I'm also concerned about its impact on the town of Falmouth with this increased traffic as well, and a lack of coordination by the single business to either concern itself with the Oak Bluffs community as well as the town of Falmouth. So along with Mr. Malcolm, absent an absolute public safety necessity, I would oppose changing and diverting the ferry.
Well, do we have any other comments? Mr. Jones?
I'm gonna have to support both Jim and Peter on this. You know, you have private enterprise, you know, they just can't dictate, you know, the transportation schedule we have unless they go to some charter boats and line up charter boats. There are people that have, you know, more flexibility, but we don't have that privilege. So that I will join them in their vote. I can't support this.
So, Mr. Davis, seems like you have your answer. Will you take care of it for us?
Certainly, we'll confirm whether the town of Oak Bluffs has any public safety concerns regarding the event in that last trip.
Do we even want to go that far? Because doesn't that sort of leave them somewhat optimistic?
I think that hopefully, you know, we can get a fairly quick response from Oak Bluffs. I'm not sure what their meeting schedule is off the top of my head, so.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'll leave that in your capable hands. Are there any items that I didn't reasonably anticipate that should be discussed? Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion to go into executives.
Once,
Oh, public comment, right?
correct.
Okay. I'm so sorry. Is there any public comment? Oh, Mr. Salzberg.
Hello,
Hi,
how you doing? Good morning.
good morning to you too.
Thank you. I was curious if anyone could offer an update if the gay head was repaired and if it went back into service and if there was any more diagnosis as to what happened, although, you know, a decent description was given previously in the Port Council. Thank you.
Okay, so yes, the repairs to the gate head have been completed. We had some staffing issues in terms of getting it back to Hyannis, but it is back on the run to Nantucket, and the Katamara has made its way to the shipyard in Connecticut, and we're back to running the schedule as planned at this point.
Any other public comment?
No, I don't see any.
Well, at this point, I would like to entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss and approve the minutes of the authority's meeting in executive session on June 21st of 2022. And to also review the authority's strategy with respect to real estate and collective bargaining negotiations. Because a public discussion of these matters may have a detrimental effect on the authority's negotiating and bargaining positions. These matters include the condominium development at the corner of Union and Water Street in Vineyard Haven and its impacts on bus roundabout on Water Street, the anticipated and ongoing negotiations with Teamsters Union Local 59, discussion with respect to tentative collective bargaining agreement with Teamsters Local 59 governing the terms and conditions of employment for the authority's security employees. The public disclosure of any more information with respect to these matters would compromise the purposes for which the executive session is being called. After conclusion of the executive session, we will reconvene in public. Is that accurate?
We will not.
Okay, so we will not reconvene in public. Again, may I have a motion? Mr. Malcolm?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second? Mr. Jones, thank you. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Jeffrey, aye.
Jones, aye.
Malcolm, aye.
Rainey, aye.
And Tierney, aye. Okay.
Okay, thank you. 5 minutes. Are they logging back in?
Yeah, they just logged back.
Okay.
Yeah, if you can log, if the board can just log back in 5 minutes.
5
so we can
minutes.
clear the queue. So yeah, so we can clear the queue.
11:05. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you soon.